doing like some big intro here. Live from Baltimore, the Whitman Expo with John Feigenbaum. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for having me, I should say.
Yes.
My goodness.
Thank you for coming to the East Coast.
I know, this is exciting because this is my first time in the East Coast, and John found out, and so now he's really excited because I think he's ready to like convert me into all things East Coast.
We have enough people on the East Coast. We're okay. We're okay.
Yeah. Congratulations on owning a coin show.
Thank you.
I know, and this is beautiful here. It's lovely. The venue was nice, and there was a nice little buzz on the floor this morning when I came in, and looking forward to being able to walk around a little bit later and see and talk to people. So it's good. So how long have you owned a coin show for?
Since November of last year.
So this is your second rodeo with them?
My third.
Third.
This is the third, so I'm kind of a professional at this point.
Yes, absolutely, of course.
But I have been coming to the Baltimore Coin Show, which in a prior iteration was in a place called New Carrollton, or Atlanta, Maryland. So this coin show is, I don't know, 50 or so years old at least. And I've been coming to it for about 40 years in some way, shape, or form. And mostly 3 times a year. So I've been to this show a lot of times.
A lot.
Yeah.
Let's grab your mic and put it up higher on your lapel real quick, just to make sure, like above that top button there. There you go.
Okay.
Just to make sure it's picking you up. I'm sure it is.
Okay.
It's all good. But so you know the history of this show entirely well before you ended up becoming the owner.
Right.
So what's the short version of the history of the Baltimore show?
So 2 guys owned it together back in those days in Atlanta, Maryland, which is really a beltway city in Washington. We call that a beltway, and it's like 12 o'clock at the beltway, in the Maryland side. And so that show was held. Everybody loved it. Most of the guys in this room have been around long enough to have been to that show.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, it was below a parking garage. So the parking deck was above the show.
And then you just went under?
And you went under into this weird thing. And then the hotel was sort of adjacent. But, I bought my very first slab at that show. So that would have been 88 or so. And I remember it was a San Diego commemorative in a slab and a piece of
Did you still have it?
No.
Okay, that was
No, but I did lose $20 on it. That was the painful part. Because I remember I paid about $125 for my first slab as a dealer. I bought it to sell it. And then I lost $20.
Okay, so you started with the School of Hard Knocks?
That's right. In the coin business, you got to learn the hard way.
That was your education?
Right.
$20 loss on a $125 coin?
Yeah, that's bad. Bad margin.
Yeah, well, no, I guess if you just make it up on volume, though.
That's right. You're if you do it enough times, it's really great.
Yeah. So have you learned anything since taking over the show about doing shows? I know you've got an entire crew that already handled the show before that handles it now.
Correct.
Right, but then also for you, there's some new details probably. What you learned so far?
Yeah, that's interesting. For sure, as a consumer, it's like going to restaurants all your life and then finally own it. Now you own the restaurant.
Yes.
And so now I get to go behind the curtain, and sometimes I have to go behind the curtain to help and so on. And I realize, first of all, how much insane work is getting done to make the room look the way it looks. Every single table has a tablecloth wrapped around it with perfect corners squared and things like that. Yeah. There's lamps on every table. It's just a coin show. It's not an automobile trade show. Yeah. It's not fancy.
So, but when people just show up, they just see what they see and they don't think about all the legwork that goes into.
So I was here yesterday helping them with the lamps and things, and there's trash all over the floors. It's all these things that at the last minute it's clean and beautiful. But it's so I didn't know how much work it was. And then the other thing I would say that I hear the most is, why are you always in Baltimore? Why don't you move the show? Sometimes people don't always want to come that far east, or so on and so forth. And what I've learned in the business side of that is how challenging it is to find a venue and make a home, because
magic words.
This convention center, the Baltimore Convention Center, has a relationship with the show now for about 30 so years, and they love each other.
Yeah,
right? And
they don't want to lose you.
Right.
And the dealers that have been coming here for decades This
That's
is
right.
kind of like home. Like they already know where they're going to
They
stay.
know where the loading dock is.
They're
That's
gonna-
right.
yeah, yeah.
That's right. And
Yeah.
how far it is from the airport. And so, but some people want change, and some people want to stay, and so you can never please everybody.
Yes, correct.
And also the thing is, we're small by convention standards. So the fact that the city of Baltimore and their convention center like us, love us, is enormous, because if you call up, I don't know, you could call up Washington D.C. or Philadelphia, any other cities with convention centers or beautiful hotels. Like there's a Gaylord Hotel that's around Washington D.C. Beltway, which has an amazing venue. Like it's a dream venue, except for they have zero availability more than half of the year, because they're doing all kinds of conventions that have also had their long relationships and are bigger and bigger paying and so on. So you got to balance, safety with, consistency of location and things like that. And so I realized that there's not a lot of nimbleness there.
Yeah.
So that was kind of an interesting, it's not like, hey, I need to move my coin shop. Yes, it's a big decision, but you go down the street, it works out, and and all that. You don't just move coin shops.
And so when you say it's not a big convention, so for the average collector out there, if they're coming to Baltimore, they're coming to a convention that is, by coin standards, a large convention.
Right.
So, but what you're talking about is like by convention standards.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for clarifying that. But
they're like, because I just went to something called Phoenix Fan Fusion, which was at the Phoenix Convention Center, which the ANA held a show there like last March, like 18 months ago.
Right.
And I didn't realize the convention center was that big, because the coin convention was huge by coin standards. But this other convention took up like multiple buildings.
That's right.
And
or
so
Orlando.
Like, oh my gosh.
And, the fun show in Orlando, which is our biggest show, I think the industry's biggest show. And I would say that, they've been customers of the Orlando Convention Center for 50 odd years, and so on. So the relationship is there. And lately, we are still relegated to the single worst hall, I believe, that the convention center has. And they have miles. They have a mile of convention center.
You're talking about in Florida?
In Orlando.
In Orlando.
So the coin show for the fun show is the close. It's just so far you cannot believe it, because they get an automotive. Auto parts or the Surfers Convention competes with us every year. And so, yes, we are the Baltimore show.
So we just need to convert a lot of surfers into coin collectors.
Yeah.
I got that. I'm on it.
Well, that's right. They're not keen to be coin collectors, more like doctors and lawyers and things like that.
Oh, that's funny.
And small business
doctors
owners.
And lawyers.
Yeah, I think so. That's
interesting.
Informal study in such matters. But now small business owners, I think you get a lot of small business owners, don't you? Don't you think?
So for coin collectors?
Yeah.
Coin collectors, I think I was just talking with Jeff Garrett, and I think it's like the everyman hobby.
Sure.
Because I think you can be doing anything and be a coin collector. And I've seen that. I mean, you can look around this room already and start to see people that are from all different, walks of life.
Sure.
Which is what's great about coins. Now, I will say that there's something about a small business owner, I get it. I also think engineers and people that are, I think, system oriented really like coin collecting. Right? Because what they're looking at is when they see a registry set, or they see like, I want to get all the minutia, I got this one, they want to check boxes.
That's right.
And that's one type of coin collector. But then there's like the obsessive compulsive coin collector, which is, I'm going to buy everything, whatever I see that's beautiful, and I'm going to, and so.
Well, I agree. I mean, I think the most interesting thing about the coin business, now in owning Whitman and trying to apply general marketing principles, like how do we better market the Red Book, or or specifically certain albums, which albums are going to sell better. And when I try to discuss these things with a marketing team that aren't necessarily, first of all, nobody really is coin related that's also is sophisticated in these other industries, let's say. To try to bring some scale to Whitman or some modernization, and we're learning. I have to teach them on the job. I'm got a level of experience with this business, but the problem is I don't think you can focus group on here's an interesting topic. For example, we are trying to decide about making new albums for Silver Eagles.
Okay.
So Silver Eagles were started in 86,
86.
and they still continue today. There's a gazillion mint mark varieties. There's some surface differentials. There's the burnish. There's the proof. There's all these things. Then there's the mint marks that were struck at West Point, but don't have mint marks.
Don't have a mint mark.
Or San Francisco, they call them emergency issues. So all of these things, there's a myriad of ways that we could look at how we do the albums, or should we focus on albums that are just one per year, right? And then all of those questions we're trying to decide is, do we make albums with future holes? So do you go all the way to 2032?
Right.
So that your coin collector who comes to your store buys an album, then he wants to come back and the next year and buy another coin. Because it's traditionally in the album business, I think, is you don't pre-print on the guess that there's going to be coins in the future.
So I find that interesting because we used to have, I always liked finding albums that had the pre-printed dates on them.
Mm-hmm.
So, things that were extended beyond when they actually ended up existing, right? So if I find an old album, and so it's got like quarters that I think pre-printed is fine.
Yeah.
I mean, but the hard thing is like you never know what the U.S. Mint's going to do.
Well, that's right. That's right.
And then, so if you have these albums, and there's nothing wrong with having an album that's dated.
I agree. I don't.
But I would
sort of erroneous.
I think I probably prefer that it's predated than left blank.
Okay.
Because
that's good feedback.
Because I thought someone who's collected for a long time.
Right, but going to the point that I was making about everybody being different is sort of, you and I can chat about that. If Jeff Garrett is sitting here with us, and I ask him the same question, he might just say, "Oh, I would never pre-print to a future date. I just don't think that's a good idea." And then we ask 4 more people, and they'll have some other take on the same idea. And that's the problem with the coin business. So it's chicken and the egg when you're making albums. Are you creating the customer's desire by putting the hole in the album, or is the customer going to just be disappointed because there isn't the hole in the album?
Yep.
We don't know.
Yeah,
we're going to figure this out.
And what's fun is, so what people may not know, of course, not only did you buy an actual coin show, but what you bought originally was Whitman.
Correct.
So CDN buys Whitman, so now you've got Whitman owns the Baltimore show.
The dog catches the car.
That's right, and then what happens?
The ice cream truck, and now
we get ice cream.
We are having fun. I mean, actually, it's a kid in a candy store for sure for me.
So your passion's been in print media for a long time, and that's kind of what led you towards Whitman. But then now Whitman has a ton of products. It's all in the coin market, which you've been in the coin market forever.
Right.
So now, how do you navigate the new coin collector market, put out new products? What does it look like? How do you focus? So you have all kinds of fun challenges ahead of you.
Yeah, I mean, and that's really what the day-to-day of our company is about right now is, we're doing very much the daily routine tasks of pricing coins for the gray sheet, working on that side of the business, and then also, keeping the gray sheet side of the business, which includes website and other, productions and things like that. And now that we have the Whitman family, well, it's just a wonderful business with a wonderful brand name, and but really never evolved into the digital age at all.
Yeah.
So this was always the known challenge, but you have an incredible workforce, staff of people, an incredible library of books, none of which are on the internet at all.
Yeah.
So they didn't evolve, and we have a transition. We have a generational change in ownership. In other words, the former owners, are just obsessed with coin collecting and loved coins. But the family owner is 90 years old, Charles Anderson. He was just a wonderful person and one of our best coin collectors of the last 2 decades. Had amazing coins that you didn't realize were his in auctions and things like that. Ultra high relief $20 gold pieces, but it was time to sell. And they said, John, what you're doing over at Gray Sheet, I've known this family for a little while, and they liked what I was doing with the Gray Sheet. And they said, you understand what needs to happen so that Whitman is a going concern.
Next century, right? Next century time.
That's right. And,
I think,
and that's where we are.
And the hard part is predicting a couple things. I mean, for my ideals, you want to make sure that you're actually dealing within the industry. In other words, I would be wary of bringing in like people who are professionals that don't know anything about coins, in general in this industry, but also you need some of them.
That's right.
To help you, because like you said,
how do you get graphic designers who
well,
love
but here's the weird secret in the room, which is there are graphic designers out there that are coin collectors. I've been, for what we've just, in this very recent life for me, but crowdsourcing is like a really big deal because you have the ability to send out feedback and receive feedback from people that are actually the consumers. So when I say something, out loud online and people respond to it, I get an understanding of, okay, it doesn't mean that I do whatever I'm told to do, but it means that I understand, okay, am I off base? Am I right? Am I on track? You just kind of, and that's also just an old business thing. It's like in small business, you're having a conversation with the market constantly.
That's right. And
maybe
we'll get feedback on your podcast here about what kind of, like for example, I would ask the audience, what album should we make that we're not making?
There you go.
We're also about to, I can tell you, like, this is information we've never discussed before, but we're going to come out with a new line of albums that's next level. So we're going to have what we call the existing line of albums called Classic. But one of the things that when I caught the ice cream truck, I wanted was a higher quality album, that was just really better. That we were told by people, and like this Whitman album could be next level better. And so we're going to make them both. Yes. And we might make them and we're going to make them in alternate colors because we also think that people like choice.
Okay. I could see that for sure.
We're coming out with an album. This is complete. The fun part is that we can experiment, and if things don't work, they don't work.
Yes.
And I like that. So we're coming out with an album because I said, I don't know, the Barbie movie caught fire last year, of course, and who could not know that? And we are one of our best-selling album today is the American Women's Quarter Series album.
Right.
But it's blue, and it's not just blue. It's like really dark blue. And I'm just guessing that women might prefer it in pink.
You can make it pink.
And how come? Why do we hear?
Can I get any feedback from any women over here? The pink album. She's like, don't make me choose anything.
One of the we hear from this from the institutional customers, like companies like AppMex or eBay, the really big companies. They say, how do we get more, John? How are we going to get more people in the hobby? How is Whitman going to help us get more people in the hobby, or so on? And I say, well, it would help if you didn't make women's products in masculine blue. I'm not saying that it won't work. But we did. So what we're doing, is we're doing it with the Susan Komen Foundation. So we're not just being self-serving. We're like, hey, this could be great.
I do think that anytime you can be somewhat mission-minded in the things that you do, it definitely adds another layer and level, no matter what it is. So whether it is in a product that you're making or a show that you're hosting or whatever it is, if you can connect with something locally or a charity or it adds a lot.
Well, that's right.
Who hasn't been touched by cancer? Right. The Susan G. Komen Foundation.
That's right. That's right. So, and anything that we could do, again, as a company. Now it's a bigger company, and you're always looking for ways to give back to your community. You're all the employees that I now have, which is around 50, is a community of its own. It's taking care of these people, and then taking care of a broader community. But also, like I said, trying to find a new group of collectors outside of the obvious. Why is it that we keep trying to sell them the same thing?
Yeah, so most of my comments, like the thing that I tell my viewers in general is that it's not up to the institutions to create more collectors, it's up to the collectors to create more collectors. And what I mean by that is, I prefer that for a couple different reasons. One, like I'm allergic to things that are kind of more corporate. I've got a little bit of a twitch now that I'm getting older about corporate things, so it's like, when people tell you you have to collect coins this way, I bend a little bit towards that. Like, don't tell me, don't tell me what to do.
You have an issue with authority. Authority issues.
It may be true. The guy in the pink shirt, who knows? So, by the way, I love the owl. Women's got the owl now too. The owl's.
I know that the Athenian owl. I know you have a very close cousin, so you'll start seeing our Athenian owl.
I know we got owls everywhere.
I know.
It's a natural fit. It's a natural fit.
It's awesome.
So no, but for So like for me personally, what I'm doing this fall is I'm
Mm-hmm.
setting up my coin shop at Tucson Comic-Con, which is not a coin convention.
Right.
It is a pop culture convention. I'm taking coins to pop culture.
Right.
Instead of trying to infuse pop culture necessarily into the industry. So I think from what I've seen, I don't know that it's worked. I think people have, with really good intentions, tried in the last few years to merge different collectibles and to create collectors that way. But I think it's really on the collectors to be out there and say,
Well,
hey,
okay.
because how did you get addicted to coins? The same way Jeff Garrett did, the same way that I did. You got exposed to it.
Right.
And how are people going to get exposed to coins?
Well, okay, but you
Right.
but you are admittedly going to the Comic-Con. You're
I
not
am
telling
going.
the Comic-Con people, if you want to be collectors, you come to me.
Correct.
And that's what I'm
You don't
saying
have
with the
to be
Pink
like
album.
us.
I
You
am
don't-
saying, can't we come to you in a way
Yeah.
that maybe appeals to you, but maybe also appeals to this kind of gift-giving market?
Yeah.
Because albums are big gifts.
If you have pink albums, by the way, by September 1st, let me know. 'Cause
That's what
I'll
we're
I'll
hoping
take some to
for.
Tucson Comic-Con
Okay.
with me. You know,
I don't know. I don't
We'll,
know.
we'll create a
have them,
test market for
if
you.
we do,
you know.
tell me.
That'd be awesome.
It's the whole
Test market,
concept
test
is a test.
Yeah.
I'm doing
no,
one,
I like it.
and I'm doing one other thing in the test.
Uh-huh.
I added one page. So what happened is I actually have become friendly with David Ryder recently.
Okay.
He's the former Mint director.
Oh, yes,
He
uh-huh.
and he's just the nicest guy, sort of retired these days, and he's numismatic, and he does numismatic endeavors and some consulting.
Yeah.
But he's a buddy of mine, and so Dave and I were having lunch, and I was telling him how excited about my Pink album.
Uh-huh.
And he says, well, John, in 2018, just having lunch, he says, in 2018, we had a commemorative set of cancer research
uh-huh.
commemorative. Now, because I'm not really in coin shops and things like that,
Uh-huh.
I was like, now that you mention it, I remember I put that in the catalog for digital, and I priced it, but I never heard about it since. And he said, and nobody bought them either. It's a shame.
Yes.
And so I said, so based on the lunch, I went back to Mike and I said, there's only 2 pages of American Women quarters in the album. There's room for more pages. So I said, let's add another page, and we added a page for the first time for the American Cancer Society
Yes.
set, of which there's proof and mint state. So that means the album, you can complete this album. This is the experiment, because I'm giving you the page for free, right? The page is a free add-on to the album, and if people start collecting that set, because there's 10,000 albums being sold in the market for the quarters. Well, I don't know how many sets they made, maybe 10,000, 15,000 sets, and the coins sell for about melt nowadays because nobody really cares. But I think the price is going to skyrocket on cancer research commemorative coins because you need 2 $5 gold pieces, 2 $1 silvers, and 2 50-cent clad coins to fill the page. And that's my experiment, is how does that alter this market?
Well, truthfully, yes, it's that chicken and egg question you had before, which was, if you have some place that directs people to this is a good way to collect, is that how they collect? And honestly, the album collecting, I think over the years has shown that to be true. I think registry sets have kind of shown that to be true. You look and see, I have a hole in my album.
Well, that's right.
I have a hole in my album. I need it filled. I need it filled.
So when we
I like it.
Right, when we talk about learning to collect or getting into it, like Jeff probably said, I don't know, but for me, collecting was like a lot of people with the folders, and then you had a Lincoln Cent folder, and you try to fill up your Lincoln Cent folder, and so on. So I had a type coin I had a Whitman type coin album, and that was like, for several years, I tried to get a nice 3-cent silver, and all 3 types, and the 3-cent nickel, and the V nickel, and the shield nickel with rays. You want a shield nickel with rays and one without. That's because you have the album that tells you need that.
Yeah.
You don't have, and so that's what I think drives us, and I think that's what's exciting, is that if we get the albums out there, and there's a lot of places they're missing. We don't have any Mexican coinage albums. I mean, I gotta think that we're gonna go crazy selling Libertad albums.
There might be nothing more in demand right now.
It's amazing,
in
and there's nobody's making Dance Goes On. Nobody's making
yes.
an album, right? That are making this album, I don't believe. So anyway, we're going to, and we're going to make them for the Canadian Maple Leaf,
brilliant.
and we're going to make it for really things, that not just Silver Eagles, right? So the whole market got lost on this focus regarding, arcane numismatics and
You want to make
so
sure
on.
he's not. Well, I think, by the way, I think, you know, you in small business, in large business, whatever you do, you try in all these different things.
Right.
And
right.
you never know what's going to work. And I don't envy you. I don't envy you at all for
Well, I
all the
don't,
things you're trying to do. And I appreciate
it's
what
fun.
you try to do for the hobby, because
Yeah.
I understand people are going to have opinions about this is going to work, that's not going to work. But guess what? They're not the ones spending the money trying to get it to work, and
Right.
you are, and I appreciate that.
Well,
I appreciate
right.
the effort it takes to, like, let's create something new. If it works, great. If it doesn't, okay, we tried.
That's right.
You know.
We're going to throw a lot of things at the
Uh-huh.
wall that I have always wanted to try. You know, if I were lucky enough to own the Red Book, or if I
Yeah.
wait till you see what we do with the 2026 Red Book,
Gonna look different?
way different.
Okay.
Way different.
I'm looking forward
It's
to it.
I already know what the Red Book looks like. I want to see what my
What
my
what
vision
your-
of the Red
your-
Book looks
your
like.
version can be.
It's going to be a lot more interesting.
Well, that's a good tease.
Yeah.
We'll probably end on a tease there.
Okay.
I like that.
Perfect.
It was nice to be on the East Coast. I'm going to be
Yes,
here again in the
welcome.
fall. Do you want to end on a question?
Sure.
All right. If you could live in a house made of food, what would you build it with?
Ice cream.
Ice cream. In Tucson, that wouldn't hold
Not
up
in
very
Tucson.
long.
Not in Virginia Beach either. But,
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for having me. Good to see you.
Thank you.
All right. Take care.
That was fun.